It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Shakespeare's birthday. We'll celebrate with some quotes. Take a look at Google+. Is it dead or not? And the new Facebook, a kinder, gentler Facebook. It's all next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 247, recorded April 30th, 2014. Snackable content. This Week in Google is brought to you by Lantronix, maker of the X-Print server. Print from any Android phone, tablet, Chromebook, or Kindle Fire to virtually any printer. For more information, visit xprintserver.com/twit and enter the code TWIT to receive free shipping on your order. And by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster, easier, and cheaper. Post your job to 50-plus job boards with one click. Try ZipRecruiter for a free 4-day trial right now at ziprecruiter.com/twig. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have your entire financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show that covers the Googleverse, the Twitterverse, the Facebookverse, and, because it's the Bard's 450th anniversary, the Shakespeareverse. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Gina Trapani of smarterware.org, and think up. Hi, Gina.
English major really appreciated that joke. Hello, good to be here.
Nice to have you. And Jeff Jarvis, who teaches professionally as a professor of journalism at the City University of New York, CUNY. He is also the author of Public Parts and What Would Google Do? Hello, Jeffrey.
Hello, hello, hello. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I guess, you know, this is actually an interesting story that has nothing to do with Google or anything, but does have to do with Shakespeare. 450th anniversary of Shakespeare, was born, we perhaps think, April 23rd, 1564, a week ago, St. George's Day. He was baptized on the 26th, so I say we'll just honor that. But what's kind of fun is somebody from Daily News Gems reached out, Bill Lucy reached out to a bunch of people on Twitter saying, what's your favorite Shakespeare quote? Tina Brown said, a little touch of Harry in the night.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
You go, girl. I don't know what that means.
Well, her husband's name is Harry.
Ah, I didn't know that. See? That would be my favorite. That's very good from Hank Sank, Henry V. Yeah, the obvious one from Merchant of Venice. Chris Matthews said, the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. Pat Buchanan said, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers. From Henry V also. Henry V is a good one for quotes.
And Dershowitz would get extra points if he had said, let's kill the lawyers first.
Kill the lawyers first. Sam Tannehouse, American historian and writer-at-large for the New York Times. The more pity that fools may not speak wisely what wise men do foolishly. I have to think about that one. No, I changed the whole meaning of the sentence. That fools may not speak wisely what wise men do foolishly. Alan Dershowitz, our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. I like that from Measure for Measure. David Ignatius, author of Body of Lies, columnist for The Post. Men must endure their going hence, even as they are coming hither. Ripeness is all. That's from King Lear. I don't know. You want to know what Kara Swisher's was?
Yeah,
she regretted it, she said on Twitter.
Yeah, that's the one she regretted, yeah. I wasted time, and now doth time waste me. For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar. Their watches on unto mine eyes the outward watch, whereto my finger like a dial's point is pointing still, in cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans which strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, times, and hours.
You are a good Shakespearean actor, man.
I love Shakespeare.
You are.
Leo as King Lear.
I will do Lear. Actually, that's from Richard II.
This is Kara's quote. This is the quote I would have picked for her. Though she be but little, she is fierce.
There you go.
Midsummer's Night Dream.
Nice.
That's what I would have chosen.
That's why she regrets it. She knew there was better. She says, I really picked a depressing Shakespeare quote.
Yeah.
That's fun. Anyway, happy birthday to the Bard. This is the Bard of Avon. So we covered this morning at 10 a.m., and you can see it in our TNT episode for this week with Mike Elgin, and a couple of people from a writer from Forbes, whose name escapes me. Shoot. And from 9 to 5, Max Zach, somebody. We covered the... I'm sorry. And I'm always telling Mike, you got to tell us everybody's name so we know who you're talking. I forgot. We covered FATE, F8, the Facebook Developers Conference. First one in 3 years. Although they did say that we will now do this from now on every year. That they're probably watching how Apple and Google do their developer conferences and realizing how important, Microsoft too, how important these events are. And especially this one, because Facebook essentially, I believe, has decided, there you go, Parmi Olson of Forbes and Zach Hall of 9 to 5 Mag. It's right there in the show notes. Sorry about that, Parmi and Zach.
It's age, Parmi and Zach.
It's purely age. It's not that you're unmemorable.
I can testify the same way.
It's that time doth fly in seconds and minutes and groans. I believe, and I think Mike Elgin had the insight this week and posted this in his, he had a Computer World piece, that these companies, particularly Facebook, realized, but Google certainly started it, that the way to success lies not in making a web page that everybody wants to go to. I mean, I think Yahoo learned this very early on. The portal is dead.
No, they still haven't learned it.
But yeah, we're still learning it. But in fact, to create a bunch of attractive honeypots, if you will, Google Docs, Google Voice, Google Plus, apps across all platforms, and then unite them across a common ad platform. Yes. And so you gather data, and this is what Google really has been doing from the beginning. You gather data from all of these little flowers, and you bring it back to the home office, and you make honey, and then advertisers advertise across it all. You know everything, and you've got a great platform.
And key to that, Leo, and I've been thinking about this too, is a lesson when I hear people in my business say, mobile first, we got to be mobile. Well, what they think is they build another bloody portal. And when Zuckerberg said to Farhad Manjoo that he was breaking up the Big Blue app, I think we talked about this last week a little bit, and doing different things, I thought about Google, and the point of it is that Google is not thinking like a brand first, it's thinking like a user first. So if I want to get somewhere, I go to use Waze. If I want to communicate in email, I go to Gmail. If I want to search for something, I go to search. There are appropriate contexts for my needs. It's not that they're trying to create 25 cool apps. It's they're trying to do things that are appropriate for what a user wants at that moment. And so Facebook's going the same way. That's why I don't think Facebook's bothered about trying to integrate WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is a different function. So you go there for that. Instagram is a different function. You go there for that. But you're right. Then you have a relationship with a person across all those platforms, and that gives you the opportunity for targeting and advertising and all that wonderful good stuff, which we in media don't understand still.
And in fact, it's very interesting because it also gives you the capability, and Zuckerberg was at pains to say this too, that you can say, okay, you can be anonymous. So Facebook Connect, that's the big blue button. You say, sign in via Facebook, and a lot of apps use it. A lot of websites use it. Now it can say, and will say, sign in. You'll have sign in via Facebook. That'll let everybody know your personality, who you are, or sign in anonymously.
But as someone pointed out on Twitter today, I forget who it was, Facebook will still know what you did.
You're only anonymous to the website.
Right, you're only anonymous to the developer of the third-party app, right?
Yeah, that's
Right.
not so cool.
Well, and I think it's a spin, isn't it? Because you really, I mean, it still works just as well for Facebook, maybe even better, because Facebook owns the relationship now.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's not so cool for the app developer. App developer?
And that's going to be the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of using something like Facebook Connect is that, users don't want to have to create another username and email address and password, right? They could just log in and it's easier. It's an easier user experience, easier onboarding, which third-party small apps, new apps need desperately, right? And that's what Facebook Connect offers. I mean, but part of the offering is, hey, I can get this person's email address without asking them to type it in, which is annoying, particularly on mobile. So I was thinking about login anonymously, which hasn't launched, by the way. This is something that's going to happen eventually, right? Zuck just talked about it today. What do you get as an app developer? Do you just get a token? Okay, so the user still has to enter, an email address. I mean, as an app developer, I need some way to communicate with the user. It's generally through an email address, or if you're a mobile app, push notifications, I guess, or your phone number. But yeah, no, this definitely benefits Facebook and it benefits users. So that's a good thing. But
Well,
yeah,
but that's so now. So you're right. So Facebook has to come up with some sweeteners, and they came up with a couple. The first thing they said is, we're going to keep our API solid and consistent for a minimum of 2 years. We want to be solid, reliable. We want to be a platform that you trust. And in order to get you to participate, not only will we give you Connect, which your users want, but we'll also give you things like Parse. We'll give you the tools for a very affordable price, presumably, for the database that you need. A lot of the things that you want in your app that would cost you money or that you would have to develop, we'll now give you an entire developer platform and an ad platform. And that's the come on, isn't it? Live in our universe. We'll make it easy for you. We'll make it easy for your users. Your users will be happy. The trade-off is, if you want more information, you'll have to ask for it. By the way, people do that right now with Facebook Connect. It's a little annoying for me. They say, connect with Facebook. You connect, and they say, now create a user account with password.
Yes, that irritates the hell out of me.
But that's why, and that's you're going to see more of that, right?
Yeah, right. So now the advantage of using Facebook Connect goes away. So this is the question whether as an app developer, is Google sign-in going to be better?
Well,
the argument from Facebook is, we're giving you all this much more control over privacy, which may be a good argument. But what do you think, Gina?
Right. I mean, on the mobile side, Google sign-in is way easier, particularly on Android, because it's because you're absolutely logged in. Well, you're logged in to your Google account on Android, multiple Google accounts. So you just choose the one that you want and you're in. And I'm not sure how it's implemented on iOS, but I think it's a similar thing. I think that you're logged into the suite of apps.
Oh, no, you are.
Yeah. Whereas with Facebook, now look, Facebook has incredible usage on mobile, so presumably maybe you are already logged in to to Facebook. But I mean, coming from my perspective, which is someone who doesn't use Facebook as much and who's kind of Android focused, I would go with Google login first because it is the most seamless login experience for a native mobile app. By the way, particularly on Android.
Note, it's not Google Plus login anymore; it's the Google login.
Is that confirmed?
Well, the rumor is.
Well, we should talk about that.
Okay.
Yes, we should.
We should talk about Google Plus and
we'll get to that. Believe me.
We'll get to that.
We're gonna get there. Don't you worry your sweet little head about that, dear. No, we'll definitely be talking about that. But I just wanted to get the Facebook F8 stuff here. They also launched a new mobile ad network called Facebook Audience, and Mark winded up the proceeds in a very Larry. I thought it was a Larry Page. We're going to call these Larry Pages now, where the CEO comes back on stage after the, keynote, as Larry did last year at Google I/O, and says a final word about who we are and what we mean and what we do. Now, Larry went on, and he talked about an island, and he answered questions from Scoble, and it probably wasn't as on point as it could be. Mark was very on point, and he basically said that we are going to make our customer first focus be the focus of what we do, as much as hacker, as we consider ourselves hackers, we're going to consider ourselves serving the customer. And then he ended with that. And I think that that's a message not just to the audience watching in and the developers in the conference, but as much to Facebook employees. Customer first. And I think that there's an acknowledgement. Go ahead.
Is that at a tension with move fast and break things? Don't you feel like there's a natural tension there?
Well, that's why he deprecated move fast and break things. He said right at the beginning, he put move fast and break things right on the top there, and he said, no, because we want to give you a stable and consistent platform.
Oh, that's a big change.
Well, and it makes sense. Move fast and break things is great for apps, but not for the platform. You want the platform to be rock solid.
Well, let me ask this, Leo, because they made a great big deal. Now, God, 5 years ago, about we killing a lot of our apps. We're opening the platform. Developers. We love developers, and then much of the apps that people couldn't get any attention for the apps, and developers just went away. So, are they trying to say, developers, you're welcome back?
Yes.
What's the relationship of Facebook to a developer now? Because like Twitter, I think if I were a developer and I put a lot of effort into something on Facebook or Twitter, I'd feel burned.
Right, but this is the opposite, isn't it? I have to say, Mark has shown a real great willingness to change his mind. For instance, remember he was pushing HTML5 as the app platform, and then they said that was a big mistake, and they said bye-bye.
He moved fast. He moved fast to break things in his own leadership.
In his own,
right?
yeah.
And that I respect that. I respect that. Though it does make you wonder, what's it going to be at F8 next year? I think Anil tweeted earlier kind of some of the things that were announced at previous F8s that are just not around anymore at all.
Move fast, right? I think this is a redefinition of what he sees as Facebook, and I think he's actually right. And I think Google pioneered this idea. And that, they continue to acquire apps, but now he's saying we don't even have to acquire apps. If you're an app developer, develop to our platform, and you'll be part of the family.
He said that before. And I'm not
when
saying
OpenGraph launched,
he was wrong or right before or wrong or right now. I'm just trying to understand what's the difference in the attitude toward developers from 5 years ago when it was opened up, and then apps went into obscurity. And so what is it they expect now from developers versus what they expected the last time they opened up?
He closed out by saying this. Here's the quote. I was looking for the quote. We have this really strong hacker culture at Facebook, and it's helped us grow, but it's really been focused on us. Instead, we want to instill a culture of loving the people we serve, as strong as our hacker culture, if not stronger. It's an honor to serve you in our mission. Now, the cynics will say, yeah, thanks, Mark. But maybe he's sincere. I feel like he's as sincere as Larry Page was.
Oh, I think he's sincere. I'm just trying to understand.
It's a big paradigm shift.
That's what I think. I think it's a massive paradigm shift.
It's a tremendous paradigm shift.
Yeah. And I think he's saying that. He's saying he started off saying we used to have this famous mantra, move fast and break things. That's mentality made sense in a startup, but we're 10 years old, and we need to be a platform now, and we have to be stable and consistent, I think it's smart. I think but I think the lesson is learned from Google. And I think if you're Facebook, that you see a brave new world. You're an ad network. You're acknowledging what you have been all along. It doesn't have to be invented here.
Well, this is also part of the breaking up. I guess here's the difference. Okay, maybe try this on. Here's the difference. The first time they opened up, they said, feel free to write apps as part of Facebook.
And your son Jake did, right? Jake was a big developer on that platform. He
wrote it and sold it for a pretty penny. Now, I think what they're saying is, no, we're breaking up the big blue app, as he said. So feel free to use our API to write new apps on top, like Paper.
That's exactly what he's saying.
That's the difference. Okay, now I understand.
And and more than that, he said we learned how to massively scale a network backend. We have 1.2 billion users, and we can handle it. And you can use this. We're offering you this platform. And boy, do we know how to serve 1.2 billion users. You know, it would be smart for them. We were talking a little bit about this, to go out and buy M-Pesa or some sort of mobile payment platform instead of creating their own, and acquire a bunch of users in the developing world who use their phone as a bank. They're already using WhatsApp.
Right.
They could use a Facebook wallet. I think there's a huge opportunity here. I really do. I think Google knows this. They were smart enough to realize it.
Yeah, particularly with Facebook's numbers in non-U.S. and Canada countries.
Yeah. They have to get people to trust them. Not non-trivial, as Google has also learned. They have to get developers to buy in.
Well, and there's, a story we'll probably talk about later, but there's a lesson in here, I think, too, from Twitter. And we'll get to that story later about Twitter's slow growth. But I do wonder whether if Twitter had kept an open attitude with developers and had developed outside of itself on an API, would it be bigger now than it is? Would it still be growing faster than it is?
Yeah. I tell you what, I just love this space, and I love covering this space.
Yeah.
It's an intellectual exercise every month.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, and here's the other one, by the way. Would Google Plus be bigger if they'd ever done the rewrite API?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, that is interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah. Is it over for Google Plus? Vic Gondotra says goodbye. The untold story of Larry Page's incredible comeback. And what happened to Twitter? All coming up. There's lots more to talk about. Also, Google changelog. We'll do that in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about this. Wouldn't it be cool if all of the printers that you deal with day to day could handle Google Print? Google Cloud Print is so cool. I love Cloud Print. If you have a Cloud Print enabled printer, you could print from anywhere, from your phone, from your laptop, to any printer that's cloud enabled at home or at work. But a lot of older printers, maybe your printer just isn't compatible with Google Cloud Print. And that must be a little bit frustrating, right? I want to print to this printer and it doesn't understand it. Well, here's a way to do it affordably and very easily. This is, yeah, we've talked about the Lantronix folks before. Their Xprint server, they have an AirPrint version that works with Apple devices. This is their new Cloud Print edition. You plug in almost any printer, and it allows wireless mobile printing from your Chromebook, from your Android device, from your iPhone, even from the Kindle Fire. And it will work with the printer you already own, wired or wireless, USB or network. It's the first and only print server officially certified by Google for cloud print and Android printing. It prints to your existing printers. You don't have to buy a new one. More than 4,000 top brand printers. It literally turns it into a wireless printer. And it's easy. You might think you have to download no, you just open it up, plug it in, and print. It's got a web interface for advanced configuration, but I can tell you right now, in my experience, you don't need to do anything. You just plug it in. It automatically discovers all the printers on your network. It says, you want to make these cloud print? And you say, yeah, and that's it. This is such a great idea. If you've got a USB printer that you currently have to plug into, suddenly it's Wi-Fi enabled. It'll work on your network. It even works with large multifunction printers, pretty much any printer. It's $149.95 for up to 10 network printers and 8 USB printers simultaneously. People use these in schools and offices. You plug this one thing in, and boom, you're working. Visit xprintserver.com/twit for more information and to get yourself one. In fact, when you use the offer code TWIT, you'll get free shipping on your order. xprintserver.com/twit, the new Xprint Server Cloud Print Edition from Lantronix.
I want that now.
Isn't it great?
Now.
Yeah, because you're a Chromebook guy, right?
I'm a Chromebook guy, man. It's perfect for me. I need that. Basically, my Mac does two things in life. This show, and it's a print server.
All right. Good
That's
news.
it. That's all it does anymore.
Send one to the. We'll send one you to post haste.
No, I'll get it. Yeah.
You don't have to get it. We'll send it to you. We got a few lying around.
That's cool.
It's great, isn't it?
10 printers, huh? That's great.
Yeah. I talked with we got an email from a teacher who was using the Apple version. She was responsible for running like the network in the school. As always, there was nobody in charge of it, so she was in charge of it. She said, "I couldn't believe it. I plugged it in, and all of our printers were suddenly AirPrint compatible. We were printing. The students are printing and stuff. If you've got Chromebooks, this is a huge thing." Hey, let's not delay it. Sometimes we delay it, and I regret it. Let's not delay it. Let's do it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, break out the horns.
The Google changelog.
It's time. And now here's Gina Trapani with the latest.
Google released iOS apps for Google Docs and Google Sheets. The apps run on the iPod, iPhone, and iPad, and they let you create and open and edit documents that you started on the web. You can share with other users. You can work offline. You can add and respond to comments. With Sheets, you can format cells, enter sort data. Everything is saved automatically as you type. And both of those apps are available for free in the iOS App Store right now.
How different
Very
is
nice.
it from just using the Drive app?
I haven't actually had a chance to try these out. I think it's just a much more native, better native experience than the Drive app. And slides are not available yet, but they are coming soon.
Cool.
I left my iPhone at home. Speaking of Google Drive can now cast presentations to the Chromecast. This is
That's
pretty
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? So this only works on the desktop right now. So to cast a presentation, there is a present button in the top right corner of a Google Drive document. If you have the Chromecast extension installed, you have to have the Chromecast extension installed, but you do if you have a Chromecast. You just see the option to present on another device, and from here you can select which device to cast to. Really, really, really nice. So just skip the projector and plug it right into the TV. I like that a lot. Let's see, Google Glass updates. Field Trip, which is the app that tells you what's going on or gives you information about things in your world, is integrated into Google Glass. We knew that, but now it's voice integrated into Google Glass. So glass wearers can say explore nearby. It's one of the main core Glass voice commands. And Field Trip will show the wearer interesting facts about the world that surrounds them as they walk. And Glass is also getting another much needed feature. I was pretty excited about this. Field Trip's pretty cool. But now the Glass will have smarter phone answering. So Glass will know if they're not on your head to ring your phone and not your glasses, which I can't tell you how many times I've had my glasses ring because it was Bluetooth connected to my phone when a
So
phone
your
call
glass
came
would
in.
ring and not your phone?
Not your phone, yeah. So I'd hear my phone ringing, and yeah, you'd have to grab your phone and switch it to phone.
Right.
So some nice Glass updates there. Google Search now lets you filter restaurants by what's open now, price, and more. So using Google Search on the web, yeah, this is really nice. On the web or on Android, the search app, you can filter restaurant search results. So if you go to Google and you search for, show me some restaurants in downtown Austin or related searches, you can filter by how expensive, what kind of cuisine, if it's open right now, the Zagat rating, which is very, very helpful. So do your Google searches for restaurants.
You know what I really, really want?
What? Tell me what you want. What you
I'll
really,
tell you
really
what. Well,
want.
I want a lot of things. But don't get me started. Do I start
Cigar?
myself? When I'm driving from here to there, I want to be able to say Starbucks on the way.
Yeah, that seems sensible. That seems like a small thing to ask for.
It really does.
Yeah.
And especially in
like
Waze, I have a
ATM.
destination. It knows what roads I'm taking, and find me the next Starbucks.
Yeah,
Well,
or find
I've
me
seen
an
this.
ATM or gas station.
In some GPS apps, you can do an intermediate stop.
Really? Oh, because usually it's just the nearest, and you're between 20 miles between exits, and it doesn't matter that there's a Starbucks 2 miles away because you didn't have to.
Chad
highway.
says he wants a "How do I get gas on the way" button.
Always.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts
there
that
is.
they don't.
Well, Waze tells you the nearest cheapest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Use
there needs to be a pit stop option because either you have to redo a complete new navigation, and sometimes I've already chosen a different navigation and you have to re-choose.
I find it annoying. My car's always saying, "You're out of gas. You're out of gas. Where do you want to see gas stations?" No. I want to keep driving.
Are you one of those horrible people that drives down to fumes?
Yep.
You're also one of those horrible people that also appears 2 minutes before the flight takes off?
If possible.
Oh,
Sometimes that's not always easy to do, but I try. I like to walk in that plane as they're closing the door.
Oh, no.
Wow. you like
I'm
to cut it
there
close.
2 hours ahead. My mother made me neurotic as hell.
I feel like this has a lot. I'm learning a lot about you too. 5 years later, I feel like this is indicative.
What about you, Gina? Are you the? I'm trying to think it out.
I aspire to be Jeff, but in reality, I'm Leo. Like I come late, but I'm like harried and freaked out, and
You
like
know
I'm,
that.
I'm late because
I'm
I'm
always
naturally
late for everything. I just show up, late.
You're the only TV network on earth that doesn't give a crap about the clock.
And I'm proud of that, even though it drives
I know
our
you
audience
are.
crazy.
I don't know.
Drives them crazy. And I don't want to drive our audience crazy. I should do a Mark Zuckerberg. We built this station on the notion that no show should start on time, but now we want to take care of you, our audience.
I'm pretty much never ready to start right at 4, so I'm really glad. Like it was built for me.
Yeah, see, you and I.
This is actually the week after next when I'm going out to Google to do a privacy talk, right? The next Wednesday morning, I either fly back, and I think I would land at 2:30 at Newark, and I live 20 minutes away from Newark Airport. So the Leo would say, no sweat, right? Jeff would say, I'm usually home at least an hour before the show. Something could go wrong. Then I'll be really nervous, and I can't tell anybody because I'm in the air. Maybe I'll stay 2 more days just so I can be on the show. That's the way I think.
They should have on Google Now like a setting for that. What kind of person? Are you a Jeff
Erotic.
or a Gina?
You're a Jeff or Leo.
It's a neurosis slide.
Yes, you know.
Slider.
I'm like, it's 15 minutes past showtime, and Skype's like, "Hey, do you want to install updates?" And I'm like, "What could go wrong?"
Sure.
Like,
I did that too.
Yes.
Drives Chad crazy. Yeah, let me just update the Mac right now.
I'll just run an OS 10
I do it in
update.
shows.
Big.
Actually, I was so proud because I flew to Colorado to see my son on Thursday last, and I arrived just as the boarding began for my row. Like I walked in. It's just that's what I want.
Yeah, no,
This
that's
is
good.
why I'm so proud that I am now. Here's how neurotic I am. I'm now global services on United.
Yeah.
We go on before the pilots. We go on the first, right? And it's that horrible moment when I used to hate those people. They say, excuse me, I'm global services. Let me through.
Oh, I hate those people, yeah.
I know, I'm obnoxious, right?
Yeah.
So, but even though I know I can be the first to board, I don't have to line up. I don't have to do anything. I still show up early
Good man.
because I'm neurotic.
You're
It's
neurotic.
admirable. I really do aspire to be that person who's like, on time and coiffed and prepared. And I'm always the one that's like, my hair's wet.
Well, now that you're a mom, it's even worse. You're probably even worse, right?
Oh, forget it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, it's true.
Etta screws you up there.
Oh yeah, because anything can happen with the baby.
So I didn't know this, but apparently Wednesday is App Update Day at Google Land. Did you know that?
Yeah,
I
I noticed that Android Police had said something like, "Hey, it's Wednesday, so things get updated." So I just assumed it was Twig Day, so Google dropped their updates, just in time for us.
I like this
Well, the
update on
true
Google
test.
Now. I like this a lot.
The true test
so this-
of whether it's Twig Day or not is whether they listen to us about I/O.
Oh, yeah. Anybody?
Oh.
Well, we'll get to that next.
Yes, they did.
They
Someone
did.
Yes, still working on it, but someone did, so it worked.
Thank you, Google.
Really?
Yes.
But first, we're going to tell you where you parked.
Yes. Last item in the changelog. And we talked about that this might happen. This is actually happening. Google will now remember where you parked. And I believe this happens automatically. This is a Google Now feature. Google updated search app, and that update is rolling out right now. Basically, new card. Detects when you've stopped driving,
love that.
remembers where you parked, and if you want to get that, the APK is rolling out now. If you want to get it right now, you can go to Android Police. They've got manual downloads. You can sideload the APK if you want. I haven't had a chance to actually try this out. I believe that it happens just completely automatically, which is sort of the beauty of Google Now.
I just love that.
It's amazing.
Great.
It's great. It's pretty great. I was, earlier we were talking about Facebook and apps. I was thinking about how Google Now, like both Facebook and Google, even though they want to spread the love across different apps, there's still that core experience. For Facebook, it's the news feed, and now for Google Now, it's Google Now, where all that data kind of feeds back and informs a core experience. And more, it just feels like it's Google Now for Google.
They have such a massive advantage. Although I have to say, I've been playing with this with Microsoft's new Windows Phone 8.1.
Somehow you don't play with a Windows phone, I don't think.
I do, but I
think
play
it's a
with it
work
all the time.
experience.
So they've added Cortana, which is a dictation capability.
It is pretty.
But it's very Google Now-ish, too. And I wonder if Microsoft's going to be able to do this. So, obviously they're playing catch-up. In fact, apparently it's not doing anything.
A problem.
But maybe my network's down. That could be. No, seems like it's all right. But the idea of this is it will tell you things like, well, it just asked me this morning, hey, it looks like you live here. Is that right? And I said, yes. It looks like you, here we go. Looks like you work there. Is that right? Yes. And then it says, good, we'll provide you with commute information from now on. So here's news updates based on, I've told her my interest. Here, it knows where I am. Here's the weather forecast. But we'll also have commute times. It can look at your calendar. So they're trying to do, this is very close to the idea of Google Now.
This is the future of, but it's going to butt its head up against privacy.
Yeah, well, Google has, and this is why you do what Facebook's did and what Google has done, which is you have signals across a broad variety of things.
Yep.
And Microsoft does provide mail, right? They have Bing search. They, they have a kind of similar layer to Google services. But for you and I and Gina, that we don't care because we're in the Google world.
Right. I mean, I imagine if you use Outlook, if you use all of the docs and all that stuff in the Microsoft world, it makes sense. And as I've often said on the show, it was the apps that drew me to the hardware.
Right.
It was the services. No, not the apps. It was the services that drew me to the hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've got one box. They've got, I mean, if you use Office, they have Office on it. In fact, just the quick thumbnail on this is that Windows Phone 8.1 is in many respects caught up. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, if you are, as I am, in the Google ecosystem, Google has screwed you. And it's not Microsoft, it's Google, because there's no Google Plus on here. There's no Google Voice on here. The Gmail support is weak. I mean, it's there, but it's just not sorted very well. It's just everything. It's the all.
That's interesting, Leo, because that's why there really could never be a Facebook phone, because you don't do all of these things on Facebook.
Well,
You
yes,
live
I
in one
agree.
ecosystem or the other,
Yeah.
and it's Microsoft or Google, and those are the only two real competitors. And
Apple has it, but Apple has such strong privacy protections. They're never going to be willing to do what Google did, which is say, oh, and by the way, we're aggregating everything from everything you use to together.
Well,
to make
plus
it
you don't do all of these things. If I'm wrong here. You don't do as many things. Well, maybe you do.
You do. No, Apple
apps, you do. Yeah, you
theoretically has a similar capability. If you live in the so I have to say Windows Phone now is every bit as good if you live in the Microsoft ecosystem as Android is if you live in the Google ecosystem. I just wish Google, in fact, if anybody's listening at Google, it'd be really nice if you provided your stuff here on Windows Phone, because then it would be a really solid choice for a lot of people.
What's the market share, Leo?
4%.
Wow. I mean,
4%. Although I have to
now that they
say,
own Nokia.
that's what the Mac was for years, right?
Yes.
And we didn't, as Mac users, say,
was it that low?
oh, it was 3.5% for almost until very recently. It was very, very low.
it's not like Google's not developing for other.
No, Google is
right?
I believe, probably because of Scroogled, but for whatever reason, they say it's because it's too small a platform. They are very much anti-Microsoft. If they made Microsoft pull down the YouTube app, remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, they don't want their apps on here, and it's a little frustrating, to be honest. The only app that's on here is Google Search. I should try it and see if it does now. Google Card now. I doubt it does.
4%.
Hey, as a former 4%er, that's still a lot of people.
No judgment, just comment.
I went to the Acer event in New York this week.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, how was that?
It was interesting. Well, yeah, the reason I was there is I wanted to see 10 new Chromebooks, and all they did was add a Intel Core into their Chromebook.
Right.
So it's a lot faster. And it'll do video better, they say, which is fine, but I'm greedy. I want lots of stuff. But it was really interesting. It started off with Jason Chen, who's started as CEO of Acer in January, and saying we've got to turn around Acer and we got to bring it back. And, very, very candid, I thought. And also charismatic. But just saying straight up, we know the PC industry is awful. It's dying. It's not a good industry.
It is. It's
that's why we concentrate on what we do.
Yeah.
And he emphasized Chromebooks as a growth area and tablets as a growth area and phones. I think they're a little late to phones, but whatever. So it's interesting to think that fight over that market share for PCs then became rather moot.
So if you want Google to remember where you parked, you need Android for now. Presumably it will do that on iOS eventually, or no? No, maybe not. I don't think you can, as an app, you have access to that stuff.
Yeah, the Android API actually can tell you if you're driving or biking or
Right.
walking, and I'm not sure that iOS offers that.
bet
So
not.
this may be Android only.
I bet not.
Well,
Certainly right now.
So what if you take one of those things that we have here on the East Coast called a bus,
You never stop moving.
which you don't have?
You parked your bus here.
Well, yeah. Well, think that you parked your bus.
We got
Right.
Google buses.
That's a really good question, actually. I should take my phone on the bus and see how it goes.
But that's where you go. No, don't keep track of that anymore because I'm taking a bus.
Right.
Well, you'll know where your bus stop is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, right. Worst case scenario, it says,
Well,
and it
yeah,
probably
because you
knows.
got off there.
You got off there, and it knows it's a
As
bus
soon as
stop.
you stopped moving, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the bus is a very particular kind of movement.
If your mommy drives you to work, it's the same thing. I mean, it only knows when you stop moving fast. It doesn't know who drove you.
Mom dropped you off here. Anyway, that's all I got for the change log.
That's the change log. Got Cortana running the board here today. Thank you, Chet.
It had been so long, I thought we were done with it or
we were
something.
still change logging.
We were still
I was like, oh, God.
For the longest time,
That
I
was
named
like
my
a-
Wi-Fi access point Cortana, and of course the password was 343 guilty spark. And now like the Cortana is another thing. I mean, I guess it's not another thing, but I don't know. I loved Cortana before she was a voice assistant.
She was in Halo.
She was in Halo.
Yeah.
The voice assistants, it always feels like they're women.
They should be, because, and in fact, I was told in jet fighters, the heads up warning when you're stalling or it goes pull up, is a woman, because fighter pilots listen to female voices. Pull up, you're going to die, Jimmy. I didn't mean to drop you off here. Pull up.
Punchline here. I'm not using.
I think men listen to women's voices.
Yeah, I mean, well, in Halo, I mean, Cortana's the brains and he's the brawn, right? I mean, she's amazing.
She's the monitor of installation. 343 guilty spark. Are you a Halo fan?
I am.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I played the first one a lot.
Halo's awesome.
Halo's pretty awesome. It's pretty violent. It's pretty awesome. It's the same part of my brain that watches UFC.
This I did
Halo.
not know about you. That is fascinating. Speaking of fascinating, we're going to talk about Larry Page's incredible comeback. I really got to know, Jeff, you've done the research. You know if this Nicholas Carlson article is as full of it or accurate. So we'll find out.
Well, it also peeved greatly our good friend. I'm having a senior moment. This is so embarrassing.
His name is Eric Schmidt. He
writes for Wired.
Oh, Stephen
Nice
Levy,
guy.
who wrote
Thank you, Stephen Levy.
Inside the
Stephen
Plex.
Levy basically said most of that stuff is stuff that I reported in the tribute.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah.
See you.
We'll get to that in a moment. ZipRecruiter.com, our sponsor for this segment of This Week in Google. Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Of course, there are many, many job boards, some better than others for what you're looking for. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just press one button, put your job posting or your listing on 50 job sites all at once, plus LinkedIn, plus Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. You can with ZipRecruiter.com. That's where the zip comes from. In fact, ZipRecruiter will add your company logo and colors so your job pages are look like they're an extension of your business. You can have unlimited users on your account. You can create an instant job page on your website, include a company careers page as a careers link. This is all part of their service. You'll post once, and you'll watch the qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. ZipRecruiter.com. They'll even automatically highlight the best candidates. You screen them, rate them, then hire the right person fast. We used ZipRecruiter, and we're very happy with the results. So we thought we'd try, give you a chance to try it. Over 100,000 businesses have used ZipRecruiter to find the right employees. Our listeners can try ZipRecruiter for a free 4-day trial by going to ZipRecruiter.com/twig. ZipRecruiter.com/TWIG. And we really thank ZipRecruiter for their support of This Week in Google. Larry Page, The Untold Story, as seen in Stephen Levy's In the Plex. So it's
I don't know how true that is. I have no idea which one. I take no statement here.
There's a couple of interesting things. He starts with an anecdote about an early day anecdote. First couple of years of Google, Larry decided to fire all the middle management. They had about 400 employees, and he said, "Why do we need people managing programmers?" So he just fired them all. And apparently, characteristically, this was kind of interesting insight. In public, he had a staff meeting and said, "By the way, you're all fired."
It was the project managers, right?
Yeah.
He said he didn't think that engineers should have to report to someone who was not an engineer, and he felt that project managers were politicking and only pushing forward the projects that they cared about. And he thought that it should just be a flat organization, and engineers should just self-organize and build the things that they wanted to build. It sounds a lot like GitHub, doesn't it?
They talk about his flat robotic tone. I guess Larry, like a lot of geeks, wasn't really comfortable with people. As Page talked, Carlson wrote, although who knows, maybe Stephen wrote this. He kept his gaze averted, resisting direct eye contact. Though he was
Geeks.
He's a geek. I don't even look you in the eyes. Though he was an appealing presence with above average height and nearly black hair. What? That's appealing. He was socially awkward. So apparently that was a mistake because they ended up hiring all the project managers back later. This is an interesting one. That the investors said you and Sergey are not qualified to run this company. You're under 30. You need to bring in adult supervision. That's always what Larry and Sergey called Eric Schmidt. Apparently there was a lot of resistance to it from everybody, but those investors won. Schmidt was brought in. And here's another one. Everywhere you looked, there were know-it-alls ready to gleefully tear into you. That was, for Page's employees working at Google, felt more like a never-ending thesis defense. Page had originally bonded with Brin over a day of fierce argument. That's how their relationship grew. Their debates were not shouting matches. There were a series of blunt points made by one side and then the other with a little name-calling thrown in. Page would call one of Brin's ideas stupid. Brin would say Page's idea was naive. Then they'd both call each other bastards.
Once again, geeks.
Yeah.
Except for every geek except Gina, who was too nice to do that.
Yeah.
Well, male geeks. Sorry,
yes, male
guys.
geeks. Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
This is a very sort of masculine way. Like the game of one-upsmanship is a very not trying to be sexist, but it's kind of a masculine style of communication. Not one that certainly women can engage in and men cannot engage in. I'm just generally speaking. But yeah, this kind of thing drives me crazy about our community. I'll be honest. It's like the who's smarter, the actually, the man. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, actually, if you knew anything, this actually sidebar here, but I saved this out to a Pocket. It was an interesting article. I wonder if you read it. Let me see if I can log into my Pocket and show you. About programmers and why being a programmer is such a bitch.
Now that was
it's in there. It's called Programming Sucks. It's in the doc.
Basically the premise is all programs are written by a bunch of dicks. It's from stilldrinking.org. And basically, it's like building a bridge. That he says, building a bridge by a bunch of, imagine joining an engineering team. You're excited. You're full of ideas, probably just out of school, and a world of clean, beautiful designs, awe-inspiring in their aesthetic unity of purpose, economy, and strength. You start by meeting Mary, who introduces you to Fred. You're going to be working on a bridge. After you get through 15 security checks installed by Dave, because Dave had his sweater stolen off his desk once and never again. Fred only works with wood. So you ask why he's involved, because this bridge is going to be out of steel. Mary says, don't worry, Fred's going to handle the walkways. What walkways? Well, Fred made a good case for walkways. They're going to add to the bridge's appeal, but we're going to have to build them without railings because there's a strict no railings rule enforced by Phil, who's not an engineer. Nobody's really sure what Phil does, but it's definitely full of synergy and has to do with upper management, and none of the engineers want to deal with that, so they just let Phil do what they want.
This is awesome.
It sounds so real, doesn't it? Sarah, meanwhile, has found several hemorrhaging edge paving techniques and worked them into all the bridge designs, so you'll have to build around each one as the bridge progresses, since each one means different underlying support and safety concerns. Tom and Harry have been working together for years, but they have an ongoing feud over whether to use metric or imperial measurements. And it's become a case of whoever got to that part of the design first. This has become such a headache for the people actually screwing things together. They've just given up and forced, hammered, or welded their way through the day with whatever parts were handy. Now, the bridge was designed as a suspension bridge, but since nobody knew actually how to build a suspension bridge, they got halfway through it, then just added extra support columns to keep the thing standing. But they left the suspension cables because, well, they're still sort of holding up parts of the bridge, and nobody knows which parts, but everybody's pretty sure they're important parts. After the introductions are made, you're invited to come up with some new ideas, but you don't have any because you're a propulsion engineer and don't know anything about bridges. He then says, would you drive across this bridge? No. Every single program you've ever used has some version of this dynamic, including...
They left out one part.
What?
One part.
What?
When the lead developer goes and you hire a new one, they throw out absolutely everything that was ever done before.
That's probably the best thing they could do. Start over. But you know what we forget? We think of software as written, kind of somewhat perfectly with an attention to detail and so forth. We forget it's written by humans, many of whom are dicks. Most of whom can't look each other in the eye. Oh, my God.
Now I just kind of want to quit.
But you're mostly working on your own on ThinkUp, right? I mean, that's the way to do it, right? He says every engineer has in a drawer somewhere in his desk when he gets home and turns off the lights, pours a glass of scotch, puts on some light German electronica, and opens up a file in their computer. It's something they wrote or they found, and they knew they had to save it, and they read over the lines and weep at their beauty. Then the tears turn bitter as they remember the rest of the files and the inevitable collapse of all that is good and true in the world. The file is good code. It has sensible, consistent names for functions and variables. It's concise. It doesn't do anything obviously stupid. It has never had to live in the wild or answer to a sales team. It does exactly one mundane, specific thing, and it does it well. It was written by a single person and never touched by another. It reads like poetry written by someone over 30. This is the best piece ever.
I work with a lot of great engineers, some of whom with my company, some of whom who are just community contributors. And, certainly we've run into these issues, but I have a very kind of strict, not in our community, not in our community. We don't mansplain. We don't do this one-upsmanship. We don't refactor because it just makes it prettier for the programmers. We build things in service to the user, but these are all things that you have to continue to reinforce. And
Constantly.
I'm just saying
it's entropy.
Yeah. It is. And I was saying to Jeff in the pre-show that, as a perfectionist and a completionist, it hurts me to push code that isn't, like Steve Jobs, the story about, the painting the back of the fence that no one sees. It hurts me when the back of the fence isn't painted, right? But I push code like that all the time because code needs to get used or else it doesn't matter, right? If no one uses it, and it doesn't matter. If it's not working, it doesn't matter, and there's a big scale of functioning. But I could go on about this forever. But yes, part of the way that I got around this is by leading my own projects and trying to set the tone for this stuff doesn't, go on here. But that's not always possible, particularly if you're in a big company on a software team that you get assigned to. But it's funny because it's all true. This stuff all happens.
This is why you want to work for Gina.
This is why you want to start your own company. You think, I don't want to deal with this BS.
Yeah. Isn't there, I can't say the name of this programming language, but there's a programming language called Brain F *** that is intentionally horrible. This is in that language, little code snippet on the screen here. This is how you do hello world in that language. Plus, bracket, angle. That is Brain F. And people write code in it just to be ornery.
One of the ways that I also avoid the hemorrhaging edge stuff is that I use a very old programming language that people hate. I use PHP in my SQL. It's old. No one cares about it anymore. But what's nice is that it works and it has years of testing behind it, and it doesn't really attract programmers who are like, well, actually, you should be writing this in Go and not in Ruby and get my gem and Node.js. So that's a good advantage.
Been there.
I love that. That's like a German doing an imitation of an American accent. That was Gina doing
programmer.
Yeah, I like that.
We replace your templating language with a localization. Whatever.
Oh, you neckbeard, you! Did you see? I didn't see this. There's a programming language called lol code that is written in lolcat. Hi,
meow.
Ken has STDIO. Visible. Hi, world. Okay, thanks, bye. Sorry, programmer joke. Let's move on. Sure, we have other things to talk about. Oh, yeah, the end of Google+. What do you think? Vic Gundutra, gone in a flash.
Very quickly.
Fired?
I don't think so. I think maybe frustrated, but he's too respected. He's very respected in that world.
Friends of friends told me that he was a real pain to work for, and I didn't make anything of it because I think a lot of good managers are really a pain to work for. But yeah, look, I don't know.
We all like Vic, but we don't see the management
we all like
side.
We don't work for him, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, in my last meeting with him and Bradley and a few weeks ago when I was there last time, Vic, like a Googler, holds tight to the chest, and he's demanding, and can be dismissive, but he's very smart, and I respect the hell out of him. I think he's done something amazing. We're getting these death knell things. Anthony DeRosa, who's now at Circa, just tweeted a wonderful thing. He said, "Twitter and the web are dead. Long live back web and Pointcast."
Everybody is writing the XXX is dead. Facebook is dead. Twitter's dead.
Such a
Google
bad
Plus is
trope.
dead. Everything's
I don't
dead.
like it. It's a dumb trope.
Everything's dead.
is.
Walking Dead.
It is.
Zombie dead.
I was talking to my daughter, Abby, who's very smart for 22. And we were talking about sick joke cycles. There's a guy, a professor at Berkeley named Alan Dundee, who writes, Dundas, I guess, he's a sociologist. And he says sick joke cycles always have to do with morbid fears that are suppressed in a society but come out as jokes. The dead baby joke cycle was right when Roe v. Wade happened, and the debate was very intense over abortion. Segregation led to the elephant jokes. You figure out why. So I said, what do you think zombies? Why do you think we're so into zombies? And Abby said, well, I think it has to do with the fear of ecological disaster, the end of the world as we know it, and an overall kind of underlying fear that this will not stand, that we are in fact decaying before our very eyes.
That's depressing.
That everything is dying. But why else would we all into zombies? I'm an optimist. I'm into fairies.
A late optimist, but an optimist.
I come and go, So I don't think Google Plus is gone by any means. I think that it seems to be the case. CNET reported that many of its employees have been transferred to the Android group, right?
So let's talk about what we mean by Google Plus. Do you mean Google Plus, the social network? You think the social network is going to stick around? Because I think that there's actually a possibility that will go the way of Buzz.
Okay.
But Hangouts and Photos?
Well, Hangouts got moved to Android. Photos got moved to Android. They're both standalone apps.
Those are the things that I use the most at Google Plus that are specifically Google Plus, of course, not counting my Google Plus login to everything, YouTube and Gmail and everything else. But Photos and Hangouts are the way that I use Google Plus. I just haven't gotten into the social network. And I wonder, if the social network part of Google Plus won't make it. And if it doesn't, that doesn't mean that Google Plus was a failure.
It's a huge. I'll tell you this though. It would be devastating to confidence in Google.
Yes.
Every time they kill a widely used thing, and I mean, Gina's already over this because they killed Wave after she wrote a book about it.
And Reader, people were very
Reader
upset about
and
Reader.
Buzz, and you can go on and on. And we're watching the knife hanging over Google Voice. If they kill,
don't say that. Don't say it.
Well, exactly. At what point do people go, well, screw that. I'm never trusting Google again.
Versus what Zuckerberg said today is, you can trust us.
Right.
We'll be here for you.
There is a detriment to keeping, even if this is not a hugely successful thing.
But see, I'm still gonna argue with that because, yes, the numbers are kind of trumped with sign-ins and all that, and the numbers are ridiculous, and I don't really have 3 million followers and so on and so forth. But I do find conversations there. I do find people there. The growth rate was considerable. It's It's sizable. It's bigger than Twitter, which is also being declared dead today, which is just as ridiculous. I don't think that Google Plus is a failure. I think it's part of a larger strategy. Now, the bigger question then is, what's that larger strategy now? Does Google need these signals? Well, are they willing to just kill this because it's not giving us the signals we expected, and then risk that trust? I think there's an opportunity.
By the way, just so you know, the breaking story, not seeing it was TechCrunch, and Alexia Tsotsis' article said Google Plus is walking dead. So
Walking
Yes, a
Dead.
zombie.
the rest of my case. Well, okay, here's one thing. Google Plus might have been something that Facebook tricked Google into launching, because it seemed to be, and Facebook certainly was a strong proponent of this, that social search was the more important search. But I got to say, that may not have been what happened, that Facebook's own social search has been a flop. There's no evidence that Bing benefits from social integration. Google might have realized, you know what? That was a mistake. These signals we're getting from Google Plus do not help us in search.
But it's not just search, Leo. It's also advertising. And
is there any advertising in Google Plus?
No, that's not the point. Go back to what you said before. Google is a bunch of disparate applications. What ties it together is a relationship with the user and the knowledge that comes from that. So you don't have to put advertising in every app to get the advertising benefit. If you get the question that I would say is, I don't think Google Plus alone gives you terribly valuable signals for that monetization and that relevance, that serving of relevance, right? Maps gives you really valuable signals. Search gives you really valuable signals. Plus, not so much, and it's a signals business.
Google Plus is the technical implementation of the unified privacy policy, right? Google Plus is Google saying, we know who you are across all of your apps because you're using this single sign-in. It's a platform, right? And to me, like, I look at the social network Google Plus as one app, whereas Hangouts is another, Photos is another, and then YouTube, which all got retrofitted back in, YouTube, Gmail, et cetera, is another. And Google Now is only possible, right, because of Google Sign-In. If you think of Google Plus as just Google Sign-In, as I'm the same person across all these things, that's a huge success. I think this is why when people talk about Google Plus, I think that they're referring to the social network. And you're right, Jeff. There's not a lot of signals there. I mean, I guess there's plus ones and reshares and things. I don't.
Have they?
Not really.
Yeah. I mean, is this part of what Facebook was talking about, the death of the page and the rise of the apps? See, now, and by the way, let's separate the notion. I love Google Plus, and a lot of people love Google Plus. I loved Buzz, and a lot of people love Buzz. That's irrelevant. We can acknowledge that how much love you feel for it is not a determinant. Even how many people use it may not be a determinant. I just think it's a mistake to kill another service at this point.
That's just to your trust point. It does, yeah. I think it would be a big mistake. And it would be one hell of a... It would be
catastrophic from a PR perspective,
yeah.
for sure.
And a morale perspective, I think, is inside. They were all told, plus, never mind. Would not.
Well, that's what happened, right? Last year, your bonus was dependent on social.
Yeah. It would be one hell of a platter of crow. I don't see it, but I don't think they've handled the PR here well. Because they should have predicted this was going to be the case and should have been out. I mean, yeah, fine. They've issued some statements of denials. They should do some tangible things to bolster Plus.
Add a feature now. Stat.
Yeah.
So do you think Vic left because he saw the writing on the wall and said he's disappointed? They took a bunch of people away from me, moved it over to Android and Sundar.
Did Vic leave? I mean, I don't know.
What happened? He's not there anymore.
It sounds like this was a reorg, and his departure was part of that reorg. I don't know. I don't know.
Is it like in Silicon Valley? Is he up on the roof with the rest of the guys who don't have a job and he's having a barbecue?
He's on a sign.
Do you want to walk to Arby's for lunch? Is that what he's doing? Is that?
Vic wouldn't have that, and I'm sure that he's vested. I'm sure that he can leave and do very well.
He drives a Tesla. He's doing fine.
I'm sure he's doing fine.
Well, but the other interesting thing was
Arby's. It'll take longer. Drip box. Okay, I'll stop making Silicon Valley jokes.
Sorry.
I love that show. Okay, sorry.
He's replaced by someone who's keeping his day job, important job is engineering.
Dave
And that person is also not promoted to senior VP. So now Google Plus reports to something down a rank.
Yeah, Dave Bespris seems almost like a placeholder. Like, okay, you're already, director of engineering. Here's another thing.
Well respected, but he's still director of engineering. So,
and what about Bradley Horowitz, who must feel like crap right about now?
I think so. But one story that I read about Bespris, right? Is that his name?
I guess Besbris could be Baby.
Was that he just wasn't as visible, that he really was Vic's right hand.
Okay.
And Bradley's who I saw, because Bradley's a product guy.
Right.
But who is, it's like working in a publishing house. The only way to rise is because you sell ads.
Right.
Google, the only way to rise is if you're an engineer.
I like Bradley. Bradley, we love you, man. Don't ever
Bradley's
change.
great. We love Bradley.
Yeah. He was the product manager and outside, I guess, widely considered to be the logical replacement for Vic. But as you say, maybe not. Maybe Dave is always there. Just we didn't know about it. Larry Page said nice things about Vic, of course. But when somebody leaves right away, leaves like I'm gone now, you can have my office.
Well, usually
not like I'm transitioning out and my last day is in 4 weeks and I'll be, I mean, normally, right, when these kind of things are planned, it's a little bit more. So that was
usually that means a competitor.
Well, like what's his name who left to go to China?
Hugo
Ibarra, who just he said I'm going to Xiaomi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't that. I mean, Vic's vested, right? Maybe he wants to rest. But it's like that memo. He wants to spend more time with his family memo, which is always like the smoking gun.
Yeah.
If you ever get a memo that Leo wants to spend more time with his family, you know I was fired. Okay.
I don't know what that says about your family, Leo.
No, that's the last thing I want to do. What? Spend time with you? Spend time with my family? No. No choice.
We are your family.
You are my
your
family.
Children.
You're my people. I don't know. I will miss Vic. Apparently he had a pugnacious approach, according to Recode, with Google Plus and maybe his employees.
Well, if Google listens to us, not that it matters, don't kill Plus. It's a nice place.
I really would prefer that nobody used it, just the few of us in the know, and just let's keep it for that. In fact, it's gotten a little bit too real world for me.
Let's keep it all about Google.
Get the norms out of Google Plus.
Well, but they
no more normies in Google Plus.
Yeah, I don't have too many of those. Let me go back to the question I asked earlier. Read-write API.
That's a great question. If you say the Google Plus is moribund, maybe not dead, but walking dead, would a write API have helped? So
if
just so people who haven't been following, if people haven't been following this, you have a read API, so apps can read it, but they can't post to it. So for instance, there's no Google Plus app on Windows Phone, but there is an app that lets me read my Google Plus. I just can't post to it because it uses the API. Would it be better if they had allowed third-party apps? I don't think so.
Well, a lot more people would have piped their content from Twitter or Facebook.
It would have made it like Buzz. That's what killed Buzz, right?
Automatically into Google Plus, which would have meant that they could probably claim a lot more active users who are not really active, right? I mean, I don't. Google was pretty staunch that from the beginning that's not what they wanted. They didn't want that.
I think that was the right thing. I was angry, but I have come around. By the way, there are normies, and I can't avoid the normies because this was a mistake. They started putting the hot stuff in my stream.
And it's always like some
crap.
rose with like a inspirational quote or something. It's
Facebook crap.
It's those posters you buy in malls, right? With the sunsets. Which also says a very bad thing. Well, in my view, I'm being a snob here, but we all are right now. It doesn't send a great branding message about what Google Plus and its people really are. And why do I want to get mass crap there? I get enough of that in media.
Right.
This is why I'm on Google
What's
Plus.
hot is just not very smart, and it's not tailored to me. I've always found that irritating, and I constantly kill it and get angry at it. But then it goes away for a while. Like I haven't seen it in
Maybe they
What's
fixed
Hot
it.
probably a week or two.
Oh, maybe they.
Well, they do things. That's the thing about Google Plus. There were things that I complained about, day one. We all complained about day one, and quietly, slowly, they get through the list and they fix things. And the first thing, of course, was the Scoble problem.
He's still on there though.
But hasn't he declared that dead? Like everything that he declared was taking over the
everything's
world?
dead. He doesn't like glass anymore. Yeah. You know what? I don't see the What's Hot. Maybe they did start taking that out. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's what Vic liked, and they got rid of it, and that's it. No What's Hot. I'm out of here.
Right.
I want those posters.
He stormed out.
Well, Vic, we also like you. I think Vic's a very smart guy, and when he gets bored of being home in 2 weeks, I'll be eager to see what he does next.
Vic, there's always a show waiting here at the Twit Network for you. It's time for the Vic Condotro Show. I think I like it. Yeah, and don't kill Google Plus. That would be a mistake.
No, that
I wouldn't have anywhere to go online. I'd have to find something else. And notice there's not a lot of Twitter clones popping up anymore. This might be an old and in the way idea. This idea of sharing on a network. Do people create new stuff like this anymore?
They're photo-based.
Twitter, whole different social networks.
Yeah. No, they create apps, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's lots of those. It's interesting. Maybe this is an old-fashioned idea. It's like the portal. We had a long conversation on the Twitch show on Sunday about the proposed FCC rules, the lying sack of filth that is the chairman of the FCC, Tom Wheeler, cable.
Who, by the way, finally talks about it in public. Guess where he does that? The cable show.
Yeah.
The cable show.
Yeah, of course. He's the one who said, "Oh, we didn't change anything. Pay no attention." I love Alexis Ohanian. We're going to try to get him. Are we going to have any success? Did he respond to my request to get him on Twit? Is he going to be on?
Yeah. His people got in contact. I had no idea that was happening, so I was very confused.
I'm sorry. We'd love to get the Reddit co-founder, Alexis Ohanian, on. He's the guy who did the Sopa Pippa protest that was so successful in killing Sopa and Pippa.
Mark my words, will be president one day.
I love Alexis. I love him. So now his latest plan is he wants to buy a billboard outside the FCC saying, "Save our net." Now, he hasn't determined what it's going to be called yet, but he's got a Crowd Tilt is one of his startups. He's got a Crowd Tilt campaign to raise money for the billboard. They're up to $10,000. They've got 15 days left to raise the next $10,000. I put $1,000 in because I think this is a good idea.
Did?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Leo.
Wow.
That's good for you.
Hey, this is a hot button topic because,
and I'm very upset there isn't a lot more heat in the discussion about it.
It's hard to understand. And I knew that. And I've talked about it on the radio. I've talked about it as many places as I can. Alexis does a very good job of explaining it so real people can understand it. But it's hard. It's really hard to get people to care about it. And the sad thing is they won't care until it's way too late. So the FCC is, and by the way, no one's seen these proposed rules yet. But they said, Wall Street Journal on Wednesday last said that the FCC would circulate them on Thursday. Still waiting to see them.
What are you afraid of, Wheeler?
Yeah.
Now, what about this stuff, Leo? The argument made in some quarters is he has no choice because the way the legislation is written on Section 720 or whatever.
706. I could give you the whole précis right in a couple.
But the choice is they can instead just declare it a utility and be done with it.
You remember Verizon sued the FCC over their open internet rules, their proposed rules, and lost in court. And the court was very clear. They said under the Telecommunications Act, specifically 706, Section 706, you cannot do this. You don't have the right to do it unless you say broadband providers are common carriers. They are utilities. Then you do have the right. The court was very clear. The court even said, the opinion of the court said, we understand you got to protect the open internet. This is an important thing, but you can't do it the way that the Congress has set up the FCC. You can't do it unless you declare these broadband providers common carriers. Now, I'm not. And we talked at length about this with Denise Howell, who's an attorney. She's talked about it on This Week in Law. I'm not sure why the FCC would be reluctant to do that. Maybe there are unintended consequences. But it is a simple, clear path to preserving an open internet.
I'll tell you the unintended consequences. It's a reduction in campaign contributions, like crazy.
How's Tom Wheeler going to get a job with the cable industry after his chairmanship's over? What?
Just like Powell, the prior chairman.
Michael Powell now
industry.
runs the NCTA, the National Cable Television Association. That, by the way, is Tom Wheeler's old job. Tom Wheeler
that
is
revolving door is hitting us in the ass, people.
Tom Wheeler is, beside being the chairman of the FCC, he's also in the Cable Hall of Fame and the Wireless Hall of Fame for service to the cable and wireless industries. So I mean, it's so corrupt. It's so obviously corrupt.
Obama, how dare you?
I'm really disappointed. I really feel like he has let us down in a great many ways, and this is one of the worst. And
for our tribe, this is the worst.
Well, for my business, this is the worst because I have a very big dog in this hunt. Twit wouldn't exist if I had to pay extra to get to you at a reasonable speed. Right. There would be no streaming video from us. As so many have said, and by the way, and I retweeted her. In fact, I think Elizabeth Warren is running for president, but she had some really good. Both two of my favorite people, members of Congress, have excoriated Wheeler over this. One is Al Franken, senator from Minnesota. The other is Elizabeth Warren from New Jersey. She said, "We don't know."
No, from
Massachusetts. I'm sorry. We don't know who's going to have the next big idea in this country, but we're pretty sure they're going to need to get online to do it. Enough
Great
said.
quote.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that nails it.
Enough said.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question, Leo. My fear is that, and there's a story in the Wall Street Journal just about an hour ago that says that Google and Netflix and Yahoo are considering a public campaign against Wheeler on this. My fear, though, is that if they wanted to be evil, they'd say, well, you know what? We have the money to pay. We're now the big old guys. Let's pull the ladder up behind us. We don't want any of these upstarts killing us.
They totally could.
So they could really do that. And I think there's a real moment of a moral test here for them. That if Netflix and Google and company do come out against Wheeler on this, they're not crazy about paying and they're not crazy about the telcos, but they are the ones in the position to pay. And so, they got to be teetering right now. So, some lawyer, and it's always a lawyer in these companies, has to be saying, well,
it's not a bad idea. Pull up that ladder.
But they're the ones who could fight on behalf of the net and need to. And it's the soap of people fight all over again.
Yep.
But the last time it was, hey, they're going to stop you from watching movies.
SaveTheInternet.com. What can I do? Just go to SaveTheInternet.com and lots of information there. I don't think you need to give money to Alexis Ohanian to build a billboard, but certainly call the FCC, call Congress. There will be a day of action May 15th. I'm not sure what our participation will be in that. Last time on Sopa Pippa Day, we went black and white, which I thought was a really perfect way to both raise interest but also to continue our mission, which is to inform people about this stuff. Contact your Congress critter. Unfortunately, the only people who really understand this are geeks, and geeks are notoriously inactive in politics.
Yes. Because on the bridge, they just go ahead and connect the wood to the metal and don't worry about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, it's a bridge, isn't it?
But you do have to say, where are Google? Where is Netflix in all of this? I mean, why aren't they yelling bloody murder? Because they're already, they got the money. They'll pay Comcast
but that's where the Wall Street Journal just said that Google, Yahoo, and Netflix are considering a campaign.
Considering is not campaigning.
Well, exactly. And that's why we've got to keep the pressure on them.
Yeah. Let's see. I want to get through this pretty quick here. What's new with Glass? Explore Nearby. Field trip, you mentioned that. OnePlus you guys talked about that extensively last night on All About Android.
We did, and we talked about the Android Silver program as well.
Oh yeah, Silver. So let's do OnePlus first. So these are former Oppo guys. Oppo makes a phone that's pretty nice, pretty sweet, although nobody I know has it. Android phone, and now they've gone off to form a company, OPO, 1+1, one less P.
And they're associated with Oppo. They're bankrolled by Oppo, which people were upset about for stupid reasons, which I don't get.
And they want to make the ultimate phone with CyanogenMod running on it.
Yep.
They're saying in June, but we seen some people have one, right?
Well, they did this crazy marketing thing where you had to enter a lottery and agree to smash your phone if you were picked to be in the lottery. So you had to destroy your current smartphone to get a 1+1 for $1, which we agreed on Albany Android was just dumb.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
attention.
The phone itself looks pretty cool. I mean, it's a really nice handset.
Yeah.
And cheap, $299. It'll be like a Nexus.
Yeah.
Except running CyanogenMod.
Think about that. Yeah.
No,
yeah,
well, Gina, as I recall, you said last week, doesn't it run either CyanogenMod or the current Google Android official? Or is it just CyanogenMod?
I thought it was just, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. I thought you said maybe that could be my mistake from hearing you wrong last week.
Anyway, June availability that rendering looks beautiful. But
Yes,
it is,
indeed.
in fact, just an artist's rendering.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rush. There's a lot of slip twixt the tongue and the lip. I would wait and see. I've been burnt so many times with phones that looked great on paper.
There's a few people who have them in the wild.
There's like review units out there somewhere.
Right. I mean,
Who has one that we know?
MKBHD has one.
Of course, Marcus has one.
Yeah.
Marcus Brownlee. Yeah.
Getting through a 30-second ad before I
Oh,
show
man.
it.
Marcus is raking it in. I would never allow a 30-second pre-roll. I really wouldn't. That's just, there's no skip?
Nope. This has been an option for some content creators that they can have a full 30-second pre-roll ad.
Ironically, from Microsoft.
Right.
All right, let's see it. He's got it. Where is it? There it is.
This phone. So the hands-on footage is from him, and I will link that right below the like button if you want to check out.
Oh, he doesn't have one.
He doesn't have it.
I thought
Some
he
other
had
guy.
One. It was teased a lot by this Chinese manufacturer, OnePlus. It's a relatively new company.
Yeah,
Not really
tease.
sure what
That's
to
the
expect from
word,
them.
tease.
Turns out it has really nice specs. So it's
Yeah,
rocking
I can make up a
5.5
phone with really
inch
nice specs,
quad-core
too.
Snapdragon 801, the Adreno 330 GPU.
This is, you
3
could do
gigs
this
of
in your
RAM.
sleep. So that's the problem. I'm skeptical. I certainly wouldn't smash a phone, although I've got plenty lying around I could smash.
It's just such a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. Of course, it's attention grabbing, but it's just wasteful.
Yeah, well,
and
we're covering it.
better things to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, June $299.
Tony Wang has just texted. He says, he's our editor. I entered to destroy my phone. I hope they don't pick me. So you don't have to destroy it until they pick you?
Yeah, I'm on the page, and I was considering it too, but it just seems like such a first world, like
Yes.
Yeah, it's gross.
Somebody
That's
somebody
gross.
use that phone.
absolutely absurd to destroy a phone,
a bit
a perfectly good phone. It's incredibly offensive. It's disgusting.
It's wasteful and bad for the environment when you throw it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, can I give it to a homeless person instead?
Yeah.
But I'm going to enter just in case. Because if I win, I'll smash. Okay, I have to tell them what I'm going to smash. Wow. Destruction method. You have to tell them. What should I do? Hammer, baseball bat, screwdriver, fire, blender.
Leo, if it's
Drop it from the top of a very tall building. No, that's going to hit somebody.
now, Leo, what
In
phone would be the most?
I said the
Boy,
HTC One M7
Oh, okay.
in a deserted area, by the way.
Not the M8.
No, the M8. That's why I can do the M7.
Right.
I don't need it. I got the M8. Okay.
That's right. I actually have a dead M7 I could smash.
My point exactly.
Hulk smash.
My Nexus 5 screen's a little cracked already, so I mean it's going out the window anyway.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare, young Chad. Not a Nexus 5.
I need a screen replacement.
I could give them so many old phones, a Galaxy S.
Yeah, you could.
1,
you could,
2, 3.
You could just give your phones to 20 friends and they can all get
4.
$1 phones.
Yeah, I should just give. I do give these away. You know what I do? I like to surprise people. I just put them under a chair. And then I just wait.
Oprah.
Yeah, like Oprah. And you get an old phone. And you get an old phone. So is the Twitter... Now he's looking. No. Is Twitter dead? The Atlantic says the Twitter is dead. Adrienne LaFrance and Robinson Meyer.
Idiocy.
Twitter is not dead.
I'm on Twitter every day.
5%.
Nothing is wrong with Twitter. But Twitter did have to report that their growth rate is slowed. So what?
Which sent the stock down quite a ton.
Yeah.
But S happens.
Twitter is not what it used to be, but you know what? We were talking before the show about my methodology, which is intimately connected with Twitter for gathering news. I love Twitter. Wait a minute, Tony just said you should look at the TOS, the terms of service, before you enter. Oh no. What have I done? I agree to the terms and conditions. You may apply to break or damage your current phone if selected. You will submit a video of yourself breaking your phone. All right. Contest entry, successful application. All submitted videos must be shot in one frame with no cutting or editing. The applicant must show that their phone does turn on and use the phone that was chosen by the applicant in their initial application. The phone must suffer significant and visible damage to qualify for the 1+1 purchase code. The applicant must show evidence of the damage in the video following the smash. This was such a bad idea. Really. Terrible promotion. But then there's that blender company, right? Will it blend? Blender Tech blends everything. Those are destroyed every time. Did you see Acer's Liquid Leap, their new watch, when you were at the Acer event?
Yeah, they went past this very quickly, but I think they pulled a Samsung, and I think that it is connected to their phone.
Right.
Which I don't fully understand why that seems to be the case, because my
Android's Android. Yeah.
Fitbit, works across all kinds of things, and it's wonderful. And if you're I understand you want to pump your phone, but if you're going to come out with a new product, then come out with a new product. Because that's where the growth could be. And if you tether it just to your own device, I don't. Why bother?
The Chinese government has decided, and courts asked the question, why, China, are you censoring Big Bang Theory but not Game of Thrones? To which I answer, because they have good taste.
Oh! Here he goes again.
Oh snap!
Here he goes.
Here we go. Here we go. All right. Are you really going to argue the Chinese government has taste in television? Okay.
They say they're
beautiful, Gina. Touche.
They say they ban these 4 American television shows because they're offensive. But Game of Thrones is not offensive.
Game of Thrones is not offensive.
It's violent and sexy. Everything I look for.
It's what they want their government to be.
They banned The Big Bang Theory, The Good Wife, NCIS, and The Practice.
Well, I guess those show American decadence.
Yeah, maybe because it's medieval times. They don't.
The Good Wife. Okay.
Good Wife.
All right.
Onion's gonna. Is this true?
I just love the title.
I hope it's true.
That's why I put it in there.
The Onion is going to create a new website in June called clickhole.com. It's a website that's putting content and sponsored posts side by side with barely any distinction between them. People will climb into this clickhole and find content so interesting they won't be able to keep it to themselves. Every post is engineered to be as shareable as possible, so it spreads like a deadly wildfire on social media.
And then you won't believe what happens next.
You won't believe how rich they get. Apparently, items will be like quizzes, like which pizza should I have for dinner tonight, sponsored by Pizza Hut. Or uplifting personal tales in list forms. 7 jerks that defied the odds and didn't go into finance. I don't know. Is this site up? Not yet. It won't be till June. Is it real? Or you never know with the Onion.
I can't tell. It's one of those great Onion moments. I'm not ashamed to admit I had to check with the Onion PR to find out if Clickhole was satirical or not. I don't want to end up like literally unbelieve.org.
So here's clickhole.com coming this summer, an all-new internet experience filled with content so shareable, snackable, and clickable, it will rob you of all logic and reason.
Snackable.
Snackable content. Hey, that's the secret. How could I have been so wrong?
You're just not snackable enough.
Step 1, use your pointer. Locate a link to a piece of content that you want to explore. Step 2, locate the part of your mouse or trackpad that enables you to click. Step 3, click your content. Practice clicking the button below between 800,000 and 12 million times in preparation for our launch this June.
This is clearly... Keep clicking.
Keep faster, faster, click faster, faster. Wow, you're doing great. Nice reinforcement every few clicks. Seriously awesome. You're almost there. That last click was great. But where's the slideshow? Apparently there is going to be a slideshow without any captioning of 17 different kinds of hay. Would be one of the fab. I can't wait. This better be real. Don't mess with this,
I know,
Onion.
that's why I put it in there. I know. I want it to be there. I want to make fun of those things.
Marissa Meyer, $200 million pay last year. Good for you, Marissa. We're happy for you.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, our tip, our tool, our number of the week as we wrap up this edition of This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis, Gina Trapani, and moi. Our show today brought to you by our friends at Personal Capital. We love Personal Capital. And I'm going to give you, this is good. This is free. You go to this site, and what it does is collates all your financial information, gives you easy to understand, real-time graphs. Just the, you know, it's like a selfie for your money. So just the fun of looking at it and go, ooh, it's going up, it's down. But there actually is a serious purpose for this too, because not only are you now keeping track of your money, but you're going to save money. If you're paying too much to manage it or on fees, or you're actually paying somebody for advice, you can stop doing that. Personal Capital will help you. It'll show you how much you're overpaying in fees, how to reduce those fees. You'll get advice on how to optimize your investment that's tailored to your assets, to your goals, to how you're doing now and how you'd like to be doing. It's on desktop, it's on iPad, it's on Android, it's on iPhone. So why wait? It takes just a minute, and it will pay big dividends. Personal Capital gives you total clarity and transparency to make your investment decisions better right away. And best of all, it's free. Visit personalcapital.com/twig. personalcapital.com/twig. Time for Gina's tip of the week.
IFTTT is on Android, and
Yay.
I'm really sorry to anyone who watched AAA last night, because this is my app that I put in the arena, but I'm excited about it.
Did it win?
We don't know. I wouldn't ask for votes, you know.
You
that wouldn't be
need
fair.
to campaign.
But if you wanted to vote for me, IFTTT is if this then that. It's IFTTT.com. It lets you kind of chain together actions online. And the Android app, which just came out, I don't know, last week, lets you do things like access your phone's wallpaper and location and phone calls. So you can say things like, hey, set my device's wallpaper to my latest Instagram photo, or mute my phone when I'm in the office. I mean, it's kind of like, it sort of gives you tasker-like abilities, but much easier to implement using IFTTT's recipes. Or IFTTT's power is in its shared recipes. It's got these social recipes in this community, people sharing recipes, and it's a nicely done app. So check it out if you like IFTTT. You can now have it on your Android device.
By the way, they came out with the iPad version first, and that was a pick. Great minds. I made it a pick on iPad today, but because you can do so much more on Android. It really is much more useful on Android, because I mean, changing your wallpaper. Wow, I mean, things. Yeah, this is really nice. Cool. Yeah,
you can get push notifications if it's going to rain tomorrow or something like that. It's nice.
If this then that, IFTTT on Android. Jeff Jarvis has many numbers.
I don't like any of them actually, but so we could do the old NSA has hundreds of billions of entries, but that's
we know that.
We know that. We already talked about Twitter. I guess I'll do this. People like to save money. The Sony Z Ultra Play Edition is $200 off, now $449. I almost get tempted. It's gigantic. How big is it compared to a the Samsung Note?
It's bigger. It's 6.4 inches. The Note is 6 inches, or is it 6
so it's
point?
a little bit bigger.
The Note 3, maybe it's a little. Yeah, it's a little bigger. It's half an inch bigger, I think.
A little bigger, yeah, which matters.
Yeah,
It's impressively
It's not
big.
a phone though, or is it?
It is
Oh,
a
yes,
phone.
it
I
is.
really wanted this phone, but it wasn't available. Otherwise, I would have bought this. It's
Really?
It's a phablet. Yeah, I mean,
I like it that it's Google.
it's the Play Edition
experience.
version
Yeah.
of this phone.
That's what's appealing.
It is gigantic, and it's also water resistant. And it has an FC, and I believe it even has wireless charging.
These phones are like purses. Tell me this is true, Gina. The women, if you get in this cycle, you're dead. You need a bigger purse, and then you get a bigger purse, and then you need a bigger purse, and then you get a bigger purse, and then you need a bigger purse, right? And I've seen women literally carrying purses the size of suitcases, dragging them behind them. And that's what's happening with these phones. Because now I have a 6-inch phone, and I'm going, oh, it's 6.4?
Well, you should make Leo. You're making fun of women. Men just like something to be bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, we got the same problem, fella.
Yeah, but you don't have the same options. There really is not much you can do, Jeff. I mean, unless you...
Well, in my case, that's certainly true, Leo.
You're pretty much stuck with what you've got, if I'm not mistaken. And on the purse or phone side, however, and watch too, big watches.
I don't
watches,
understand
yeah.
that at all. The gigantic.
Yeah, you
watches.
can hardly lift your arm because you have such a heavy...
You can't get your shirt around.
That's status. 6.4. So really, Chad, you think this would be a
Oh,
good...
if I had the money, I would get this so fast.
It's $200 less.
It's still $500. Their unsubsidized
$450.
price, yeah, $450. Their unsubsidized price is $650.
Right.
Which is another reason I didn't get it, because the Nexus 5 was so.
It's a good price now, I would say.
Yeah, now I would say it's competitive, but
Snapdragon 800.
yeah, this is
I like it that it's Google Experience.
It came out a little bit before the Nexus 5.
This is almost, I mean, so this is like somewhere between the Nexus 7 and the Nexus 5.
Yeah.
1920
Yes.
by 1080.
So my question is, could I mean, I carry the Nexus 7, I carry the Nexus 5. Would that replace both of them?
Sure.
I don't know.
This, I have to say, this is 6. This is the Windows phone, the Nokia 1520 that I was talking about. And it's great. You really, it's small enough that you can still put it in your pocket or your giant purse.
And look ridiculous, but okay.
No, I don't think so. I think we're gone beyond the days where that looks stupid.
No, it's the pocket part.
That doesn't look dumb. It almost looks like a pocket square. Like I'm Dapper Dan. Hey, hobo man. Hey, Dapper Dan. You're always...
For me, it's being able to use it in one hand, though, especially now with the baby.
You can use this with one hand.
Yeah, that's son Jake's point. Even my Nexus 5, he says, is too big for the hand.
The Moto X is and presumably the new iPhone, which is 4.7 inches, is actually the sweet spot. I think any smaller, any bigger,
I find the iPhone to be dainty now.
dainty.
Tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really, it feels really
It's
small.
too small. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Huh. Sony Z Ultra Google Play Edition.
I didn't know
It's got
this one would
8
take off as
megapixel
much.
camera. Well, I'm fascinated. I didn't realize they were even offering this.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Sony did a really bad job with releasing this in the American market. They did a horrible job. They had no carrier partnerships.
So I could use this with T-Mobile, right? It worked with LTE. Yeah, it looks like
that's the funny thing is that it could work on most of the carriers, but they just didn't make it happen fast enough.
It's compatible with AT&T and T-Mobile on their LTE.
So how's the screen resolution versus
1080.
Nexus 5?
So it's about the same.
Yeah,
Just one's larger.
342 PPI pixels per inch. It's good.
It's only 16 gigs.
The reason it's cheap is because it's maybe superannuated a little bit. It's old.
Yeah.
Why use one syllable when 6 will do? Super.
So do you guys think there'll be a Play Edition announced at I/O?
Well, now that we didn't do this story, but apparently the silver editions
Silver.
are what
Do
they're
we believe
calling
that?
the Nexuses for future. This is, by the way, if anybody's paying any attention at Google, what Microsoft thought they'd do with Windows. They did Windows signature PCs with none of the crapware, and this was a real problem in the Windows world. You'd buy an HP and it'd be loaded with gigs of junk, trialware, and crap you had to remove. Microsoft thought, well, we want to give people a better Windows experience. We'll make a signature edition. No manufacturer made one. No one bought one. You could barely find them. It was a complete flop. Even though it's apparent, this is obvious, this is what people would want. So I warn you, Google, this is dangerous.
So you think this is going to happen even with the Google Play editions already kind of underway?
They don't sell that big, do they? I wonder the Play editions.
They
I
don't.
Think, no.
But I think that's what Silver is about. I think that Silver is about getting consumers to buy what's essentially the Play edition or the Nexus now.
So what's
right?
different about this is it's not sold at play.google.com, but it's sold everywhere.
Sold in stores, and they've got associates doing the data transfer, doing the onboarding, creating your Google account for you, getting you set up. If they market it right and they get it to the right stores and they really make it kind of the premium Android experience, I think that'll be good for everybody, right? Because right now there's a Samsung Android experience, right? There's an Amazon Fire OS, right? Yep. And Amazon, I mean, who knows? I don't think we didn't cover this story either, but if Amazon has a phone, if there's a Prime, contract, whatever, there's going to be some sort of Amazon flavor of Android. There is one, and that'll continue to go on handsets. I mean, Google kind of needs to say the Google experience is the superior Android experience, and here's how you get it. And it can't,
which is fine, but here's my fear. Here's my fear, Gina. Is that what's going to happen is that we're going to don't forget the other thing Google did was make reasonably priced phones. Mm-hmm. And probably the manufacturers didn't like that, didn't like the price pressure on them. Yeah. So now, the deal is we'll stop competing with you and showing you up if you use our software, okay, but that means you can price this stuff through the roof again and charge $700, $800 for it.
I just think the real problem is that you can't compete with Samsung's massive marketing budgets. I think it's provable that no one should buy a Samsung phone of any kind. It's just, they're horrible. They're horrible. Even the Play edition, they're horrible.
You're going to get email about this, are you not?
I think it's provable.
They're a Samsung fan. They're a Galaxy fan.
They're wrong. They're crazy. They're nuts.
I'm with you, brother, but
they're nuts. I like the Galaxy S2 was very good. After that downhill. And really, just now the stuff is crapware. But because they spend literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing, and it's going up all the time because it's directly tied to the profits made by the division. So the more they make, the more they advertise, the more they advertise, the more they make. You just can't compete. And that's why the demonstrably superior HTC One, right, doesn't sell for beans.
No, you're right.
I think the Silver will be very similar.
Google can't compete with Samsung's advertising. I mean, they could. If they
could, but they're not going to spend $400 million to promote the Silver edition. Are they?
They're running Chrome commercials.
Yeah, but I don't know. What's the Samsung?
No, I hear you. That would be weird. I would notice.
It's hard to compete. It's really hard to compete.
If an Android Silver commercial came on, I would be on my TV. I would stop and notice.
Are you ready? Are you ready for a number? Here's a number, Jeff. Samsung's 2013 marketing budget. What do you think?
God knows.
$14 billion.
What?
Jesus.
Good luck, Google.
And I know from people who work there, Samsung decides to do something, the boss decides to do something, and man, 4 weeks later they got a watch.
Yeah.
They got stuff.
Yeah. Good luck, Google.
Oh, wow.
14 billion.
Well, that's what it says here. Maybe that includes refrigerators. I don't know.
I guess that's why, I don't know. When I'm playing dots, I see an ad for the Galaxy.
Everywhere. You can't get away from it.
It's everywhere.
This is this is from Boy Genius Report. According to Reuters, Samsung's marketing Death Star has spent an estimated $14 billion in 2013, an amount greater than the entire gross domestic product of Iceland. That's triple the $4 billion it spent in 2012, and it's because Samsung, it's set up that the more you make, the more the budget is tied directly to the sales. Yeah.
Budget of Iceland. Poor Iceland.
Here's a chart. This is out of date. This is Apple advertising, HP advertising, Dell advertising, Microsoft advertising, Coke, Samsung Electronics, Samsung marketing expenses. Dwarves all of them combined.
Oh, Coke?
More than Coke.
Wow.
Like by a lot.
Wish they'd put some of that into better products.
The purple one is 2012, so it's quadruple this.
Jeez.
And that's hard. That's why people buy Samsung phones. I'm convinced there's no other reason. All right, my pick of the week is a screensaver. I want to thank my good friend Mike Elgin, from whom I get all of the information that I know, everything I learn. I learn from Mike Elgin. There's a great Google Trends website where you can see the search trends at google.com/trends/hot-trends/visualize. Well, if you go there now, you'll be able to download a Macintosh screensaver, which you can configure. I've got it configured to show Google search trends in the United States in a 4x4 grid, constantly updated. Now, this is a screensaver. Now you know what people are searching for.
That's neat.
Isn't that
On
great?
my phone, apparently.
Looks very Windowsy.
Yeah, it's not available on Windows, by the way.
Yeah.
Or Linux.
Flat primary colors.
Yeah, I like it, though. Amanda Knox, very popular right now. Mean Girls. So you can see what people are talking about. This is the 10th anniversary of Mean Girls. Bob Hoskins just passed away. Tony nominations. Mean Girls quotes. Now, I wonder if I click on a... Oh, now I put it to sleep. Hold on. I guess I'll never be able to tell whether if I click on it.
This is the point cast problem.
Yeah. Pointcast screensaver. You'd see a story, you'd click on it, and you couldn't.
Room.
Yeah. But this is, even if you don't, this is actually fun site to go to the Google Trends, and then what you do is you can select how big a grid it is. Somebody's searching for George Clooney right now. This is the all regions search, so it's more interesting if you pick your region. And so, hey, the #1 search, Google Chrome, right now. It's kind of fun. Cool. A lot of people searching.
I like the grid a lot.
Isn't that great? Love that.
A lot of people looking for Beyonce.
Yeah. Well, who isn't?
Who
I
isn't
think a new
looking for
video
Beyonce?
came out. Ladies and gentlemen, we do This Week in Google on Wednesday afternoons, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC on twit.tv. But you don't have to watch live if you don't want to. Look at that. That's primary colors.
Surprising lack of logos in that.
I like that, though.
That screen. Yeah, it's kind of nice. But I was thinking, this would be kind of a neat bumper for the show, but there's no indication that it's Google.
Yeah,
you don't know what it is.
It's a good screensaver, I think.
Yeah, it is a good screensaver.
Not that it saves your screen, but who cares about that? If you want on-demand versions of this show, just go to twit.tv/twig, or there's lots of podcast apps and so forth you can download. Subscribe there. We have apps, by the way, on all the major platforms, including Roku. Thank you to ShiftKey Software, Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. So get those apps and start watching today. Thank you, Jeff Jarvis, City University of New York, author of Public Parts. BuzzMachine.com is his blog, or just follow him on Google+. He's still there. So is Gina Trapani. She is at ThinkUp.com, and you can now get your own ThinkUp.
Yeah.
Think up for yourself.
And you should.
See, that's a good slogan. I just made up a good slogan. Think up for yourself.
Think up for yourself. Think up for yourself.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
You can see your analytics from Facebook and Twitter and see, what your most valuable tweet was, how much you're tweeting, who's following you. 5 times. You know what? Thank you, Elizabeth Warren. You can thank me. I increased the number of people seeing her tweet by 500%. I want the number, though. Gina, bring it back. Bring back the number.
It's a multiple 5 times of the people that she reached. That's pretty good,
Right.
Leo. You're helping her out.
I'm helping her
Good
out.
fight. I like that.
Elizabeth Warren for Massachusetts. She's got to get a better Twitter handle. Elizabeth Forma. I guess there wasn't enough room for the whole state. Look at that tweet. That's my rants against Tom Wheeler did very well this week.
Yeah, using the network for good here.
Yep.
I like this.
Yep. Only 15% of my status updates contained I, me, mine, or myself.
Nice.
This is good stuff to learn.
Not easy.
Isn't this great? LA Times editor and writer followed me. That's good. She's the chief encouragement officer.
No.
LA Times.
Cheesy title.
Easy title.
Cheesy title alert.
ThinkUp.com. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.